Hey there guys, and welcome to this episode of Gearist TV. Today we're going to be talking about the Fit from Skora running. One of the biggest complaints or troubles that people that want to get into a more minimalist shoe have is that they are afraid they're going to miss that cushioning. Now, if you've checked out shoe reviews of ours like the Scora Phase right here in the past, you know that that shoe has amazing ground feel, but it's not cushioned at all. There's just no cushioning. Now, in this shoe, Skora has made a concerted effort to still maintain amazing ground feel, relatively low stack heights, but add a tiny bit of cushioning. Is this going to be like something, you know, like a Hoka One One or the Go Run Ultra by Skechers? No, it's not that kind of cushioning. It's just a little bit of cushioning to kind of appease those people that may be a little more afraid of it, and also those people that are Skora or minimalist shoe devotees to run longer in a shoe and not have to feel like they need to switch into something. So let's get into talking about the mechanics, the construction of the shoe, and to see what they've done to change this model to add that tiny bit of extra cushioning. First up, as always, let's talk about the outsole of the Scora Fit. Now, it is made from high-density injection-blown rubber, okay, so that means that it's a little bit weighty. We're going to talk about that more in a second. But starting at the front of the shoe and actually looking all the way around, you can see that it has a really nice rounded shape, very similar to the way that your foot looks and the way that your foot is shaped. There are no sharp edges. In other words, the outsole doesn't come to here and then it's a cutoff up into the midsole. These are shaped to be rounded into function as your natural foot would. Additionally, what they've done is they put strategic flex grooves at spots where the foot is going to naturally flex. Here, they've put a split right kind of to the to the lateral side of the big toe, the great toe. That's going to add a little more flexibility right in that area to kind of free up the action of the big toe. Additionally, here, just behind the big toe and covering basically the medial side of most of the metatarsal heads, probably the first 4 metatarsal heads right here, they've got great flex points. And then again, as you travel down the lateral side here. So you can see these flex points are really intelligently designed to give this shoe a lot of flexibility. The shoe takes a big break with those flex grooves through the midsole. The injection blown rubber, as you can see here, isn't really here. This is actually EVA, this black part here through the instep, the midfoot. But it does maintain that injection blown rubber on the lateral side. This is great because running in a shoe like this is going to mean that you're going to land more forefoot or midfoot, and a lot of times companies may kind of overlook the need for durability right through this area, thinking that the only contact points are going to be here and here. So this is great that this maintains that high density rubber through the lateral side of the instep. Then back into the heel again, you've got that great rounded heel shape there. As we mentioned in the Scora Phase review, these things are stupid durable. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can run thousands of miles. I've seen people that have run like 1,500 miles in a shoe like this, and the only way you're going to tell is if you've looked at the upper, because the outsole is so intact. Now, part of that is, of course, because it encourages a more efficient gait. People that are wearing it are more than likely kind of try to run with a more efficient gait, but also the rubber is just super, super durable. So you can't really deny that. These have about 60 miles on them. You can see there, just really like no wear. I mean, and there's a lot more walking around miles on these than the 60 running, because they're simply just comfortable to walk around in. So that's a really great thing to pay attention to there. A lot of bang for your buck. So a second ago I mentioned the weight of the Scora Fit, and this is something that kind of came up in the Scora Phase as well a little bit, but one of the things you will notice about it is that you would expect a minimalist shoe like this to be extremely light. And while this is not a heavy shoe, I want to make that clear, this is still a light shoe, it could be lighter. This comes in at 8.2 ounces for a men's size 9. Now, generally speaking, that's going to be because it's that trade-off of this super high density, really durable rubber, because again, high density rubber is more dense, again, more heavy. So it's kind of a trade-off, and one of those things that you have to keep in mind with that is that it's not worth just taking my word for it or looking at a weight on a spec sheet. You really want to get this not just in hand. Like if you pick this up and hold it in your hand, you'd be like, oh, I would expect this to be a little lighter. You want to get this on your foot. The reason I say that is because the upper, which we're going to talk about in a minute, has a very second skin-like feel, which is going to make this feel like it's actually part of your foot and thus diminish a large portion of that weight. It still remains that it's not the lightest shoe in the world, especially for a minimalist shoe. Not a deal breaker, and again, that second skin feel that we're going to talk about in a minute really takes away from that weight. So now let's talk about the midsole, and yes, I did say midsole. In the Scora Fit, which has a stack height of 16 millimeters on a zero drop platform, 16 millimeters here, 16 millimeters here, there is a bit of compression molded EVA. That's what you can see here, and additionally inside you can certainly feel it when you're walking, or you can even compress it with your hands. There is compression molded EVA. While the EVA in this is by no means heavy, it's not a thick amount of EVA, it is still there, and it's still meant to provide that little bit of cushioning that people may be looking for in a minimalist shoe. Now, I'm sure there are minimalist diehards, or Scora diehards for that matter, that may hear that they put a little bit of cushioning in a shoe and they're like, oh, hold on a second. They need not be afraid, really. If you're looking for a shoe that's still got that excellent ground feel, this is still going to be that shoe. We're going to talk about that more in a ride section, but don't be afraid. This is not a cushy shoe. It just has a little bit of cushioning. So if you're looking to get into something minimalist, this is going to help you make that transition more easily. One of the biggest ways it's going to help you make that transition is by having that cushion, but also using biomechanical cushioning. So it's your body acting like a natural spring to provide a lot of that cushioning. So if you're coming out of a really overbuilt shoe, a large shoe, where you've got a lot of material cushioning, you're probably not using as much of your biomechanics to provide cushioning. In other words, you're not using the spring-like action that your body could possibly have by having soft hips, knees, and ankles. With this, it's going to kind of really encourage that, because if you land way out in front of you or overstride or something like that, you're not able to do that. This is going to help make your gait more efficient, and then make your body provide a lot of that biomechanical cushioning that you may be missing by just having a little bit of cushioning in this. Now, if you are that minimalist or Scora diehard, you can actually take away some of that cushioning by removing the sock liner, which does have a pretty good thickness. You can see there, this is not a thin sock liner, and it does provide a little bit of cushioning. That's going to come down to kind of an almost secondary sock liner, which is even still branded, so well done there. It's going to provide even less cushioning if you want to get more ground feel. Yes, you're still on top of that compression molded EVA, but it's not as great as it would be otherwise with the sock liner in. Now for the upper. The upper of the Fit is built out of a single piece, seamless air mesh, and it's built around Scora's Real Fit Last. That last is really meant to be made after a true anatomical shoe, not made after another last, after another last, after another last. Not a recycled last that is kind of an industry standard. They've really made an effort to build it after a foot. Internally, the mesh is meant to be really comfortable and supple against both bare and socked feet. And if you put your hand inside there, I mean, it's really just very soft against the skin. No chafing or hot spots or anything like that. One of the coolest things that you'll notice is the upper uses this 3D dot, or 3D dot. Basically, it's 3D printed on. We've talked about this in another shoe model before, not from Scora, but from another brand. It uses this 3D printing to provide its overlays. If you'll notice, these are the only structure on the upper of the shoe. The shoe is completely flexible. And these dots that are 3D, again, 3D printed on there, provide all the support structure you need. And what's great about that, and this is something that we noticed in the New Balance Fresh Foam 980, is that a kind of almost, in that shoe it had a honeycomb pattern on the underside of the shoe, which allowed a lot of flex because it was individual flex points all over the place. In this, where this is attached and where these overlays happen, it allows for a great deal of flexibility, because again, it's forming almost a weave or a net that can stretch in different directions without impeding the true action of the shoe or the foot. Now, as I mentioned a minute ago, this upper has a really second skin-like feel. One of the things that helps with that is an internal arch band, which runs right about here, where you can see the darker portion of the upper there, of the 3D dot printing. That's going to really go to hug the foot. Now, when you're wearing this, it's going to, again, pull down really snug as you want to tighten it down, and really just embrace the foot, so much so that it kind of disappears after a minute. The tongue and the lacing, which you can see here, are asymmetrical as they lead away from the instep, away from the cuboid and all that, toward the lateral side of the foot. With the intention of providing that second skin feel, the upper has no stiff, rigid support structure. So you can see here, there's no heel counter and there's nothing in the toe, okay? The only structure in the toe is provided by where the outsole comes up a little bit over the toe cap to provide a tiny bit of bumper. A lot of times when a company or brand builds its shoes as a natural running shoe, they often leave that natural part to the outsole and maybe to the midsole. In Scora's case, they haven't done that. They've, yes, got the obligatory outsole and midsole, which are incredibly natural, move with the foot, not adapting the foot to it. But additionally, they've got this upper that really, really flexes with the foot. The upper's ability to flex and move with the foot that you can see here, I mean, we can wrap it and wind it up. The upper's ability to flex and move with the foot really adds to the agility of this shoe and maneuverability, which is really going to make it a favorite if you've got like a technical run, maybe even on a track, though there's no spikes or anything like that. But it's certainly going to enhance the natural capability of the shoe, not just come to the midsole and the outsole and go, oh, well, that's good. We did all the natural things we needed to do. Now the tongue, which is wonderfully nice and light. It really, truly is nice and light. It breathes very well in my experience. The tongue has a small tendency to slip to the lateral side. Now, since it's already oriented, as you can see here, to the lateral side a little bit, it can slide a bit. Yes, it's got this tongue tie down right here about halfway up, but it still can slide off a little bit. It's not sliding off so much so that laces are pressing down on your foot or anything, but it can slide a tiny bit. It might be able to be prevented by a small gusset on the medial side. Some other shoes have used that kind of a one-sided tongue where the tongue is attached down here and all the way up the medial side to keep it from sliding. So maybe that's an addition too that could have an improvement there. Let's talk about the fit, like the actual way the shoe fits. Now this is called the fit. And while it probably goes without saying that it's got excellent fit, this could also refer to the fact that this shoe could be used as a training shoe for like CrossFit or something like that. We'll get into that in a minute. First, let's start with the toe box of the shoe. The toe box of the shoe is really well shaped, anatomical. I really like the way that it fit. It doesn't have a ton of vertical volume. So when your foot's in there, you might feel that fabric touching the top of your toes. Now what's interesting about that is that in a shoe that might have a more stiff upper that doesn't have any stretch, it might feel like you're locked down. But with the stretchy upper on the fit, as well as the really super flexible, you can see there, super flexible toe box on the outsole and midsole side, this is really going to still allow the foot to flex without being impeded by the materials. To be honest, for me, the fit and feel of this felt like I was literally wearing my favorite 2-year-old house slippers that are totally broken in, like lamb's wool on the inside and all this kind of stuff. The fit is so comfortable, and that's why I've worn it so much just walking around, because it is so comfortable like that. The one thing that wasn't really a bother to me, but it is something that I could potentially see somebody wondering what was going on there, is that the foot, the actual foot, and my foot anyway, falls within the outlines of the shoe. So what I mean by that is my foot is smaller than this heel cup here and smaller than this up here. And so what happens is that with the absence of a rigid heel counter, some of this material can kind of not bag, it's not baggy, but it can kind of do this a little bit, and it kind of can come in on the sides and on the back. For me, this did not cause any discomfort whatsoever, whether it was chafing or hot spots or anything like that. It just, I noticed it when I looked down at my foot. I was like, huh, well, that's kind of strange. Again, I did not notice it wearing it internally. I didn't notice it on longer runs. I didn't notice on the shorter, faster stuff. It stayed out of the way. I'm just saying that it was something that I noticed visually, but not actually in feeling. As for sizing, it fit right where it should be for me. This is size 11. I wear a size 11 and it worked out. However, I will say this, because it is a minimalist shoe and because of its second skin type upper, I would strongly encourage you to get, if you're ordering this from Scora Direct or you're buying in a store or what have you, get 2 sizes. If you think you're a 10.5 or an 11, get a 10.5 and an 11 just to see what's going to be most comfortable on your foot. And don't just put it on and walk around in a shop or walk around in your house. Go for a quick run, just like a couple minutes, just to get a feel for what's going to work with you. Because again, that second skin feel may influence the way that you want it sized. For me, I wear a size 11 consistently, and this is really, really comfortable for me in a size 11. Let's talk about the ride of the shoe. Now, before I get into the ride of this actual shoe, I feel like I should make a couple caveats here, which is to say that when I review a shoe, I'm basing its cushioning and its ride around what the shoe is meant to do. In other words, I'm not going to sit there and give this a knock because it doesn't work well on trails. And I'm not going to sit there and give this a knock because it doesn't have a ton of cushioning like a Hoka or something like that. This shoe, I'm going to review as it is meant to function, and I feel like that's a very important distinction to realize. So, with all that said, the fit is a true minimalist shoe, and the ride gives it amazing ground feel. Yes, it's got a little bit of cushioning in it, so it's not going to be like the Scora Phase exactly, because it's got a little bit of that compression molded EVA, but the cushioning is so well done and so minimal, and its flex grooves go into the compression molded EVA from the outsole in through the midsole. that it still has amazing ground feel, agility, and maneuverability. And I know I keep touching on it, but back to that cushioning, it's minimal enough that devotees to minimalist shoes, or to Skora specifically, are not going to be disappointed. It's going to be able to be adjusted a little bit by removal of that sock liner should you want to, but even with the sock liner in, it's not like you're walking around on some super marshmallow shoe or something like that. It's also going to be enough that people, again, that I've mentioned a couple times now, are not going to be scared to get into it because it's going to offer that little bit of cushioning they may be missing from their more traditional running shoes. So while I'm not a CrossFitter myself, the Fit is built to be a training and running shoe. That means it's going to give people that are cranking out wads every single day, it's going to give them something to really be able to run and then to train in as well, with that natural footbed, that natural posture for the foot, without impeding their motion. Additionally, one of the best things that I like about the shoe is their price point. It is certainly, aside from those shoes on sale, it is certainly the most affordable in the Skora line, coming in at $94.95 if you buy it direct from Skora. So as we mentioned with the Scora Phase, which this is cheaper than that, that's a lot of bang for your buck when you consider how long the the high density rubber on the outsole is going to last you, and it's going to help improve your gait, which is going to make it last even longer. Look, not everyone is going to be a minimalist runner at the end of the day. However, if you've thought about going to a more minimal shoe before but have balked because you thought you might be missing that cushioning, this is a shoe you need to try. It really, really is. It's going to have the little bit of cushioning that you may be missing, but it's going to have all those additional features of a minimalist running shoe. Super flexibility, it's lightweight. Yes, it's not as lightweight as it could be. It's got a dead level drop, which means it's going to put your foot in a nice natural posture. And it's also going to allow you to do all the things that you would want to do if you're doing CrossFit workouts and things like that. This shoe also has the comfort and durability that's going to give you a lot of bang for your buck and probably wind up being one of your favorite just kicking around shoes. So do yourself a favor, don't just pick one up and hold it in your hand. Get a pair of Scora Fits on your feet and try it out. It might be a shoe that you really, really wind up liking. Let's do the stars real quick. First up, construction, we're going to give it 4 stars. I feel like this tongue should be gusseted a little bit on the side, and that would have knocked it right up to the top. Next is durability, 4.5 stars. The bottom of the shoe, the outsole, the midsole are going to last a long time. We've seen that in other Scora models, and this should be no different. The 1.5 star knock is going to be because I simply don't think that the upper, over a long, like hundreds, almost thousands of miles, I don't think the upper is going to be able to hang with the outsole. Comfort, 4.5 stars. Again, this thing is like your 2-year-old pair of house slippers that you just love to wear. Fit, also 4.5 stars. When you tighten this thing down the right way for your foot, it fits like it's just not there. Yes, of course it's there and you've got something under your foot, but it really fits so super well and close to the skin that it just disappears. Weight, 3.5 stars. I mentioned this a minute ago, could be a little lighter for a minimalist shoe. I'm not sure how that would affect the durability, but it is a little bit heavy for what's considered a true minimalist shoe. And finally, for performance, we're going to give it 4 stars. That's going to wrap everything up into a 4.2 star average. Now we want to know, have you tried a minimalist shoe? Has it been a Scora Fit or some other shoe? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Gearist TV. Please don't forget to like and favorite this video and share it with your friends. Also subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to find us on Facebook at The Gearist, Instagram at The Gearist, Twitter at The Gearist. We're on Pinterest /Gearist. Find us on all these websites and let us know what's going on. Follow us, like us, and all those things. As always, don't forget to visit Gearist.com and check out all of our other reviews and leave any questions or comments about this review or any of our other reviews in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.